Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me for this next episode of Meditation in Art. Today, I'm so pleased to have with me Ea Torrado, who is a wonderful, wonderful artist, healer, dancer, meditator, teacher, who hails from the Philippines. We actually didn't get to meet there in person when I was there a couple of years ago, but we met through a video cast. I think we were talking about time and other mind-bending topics.
Yes.
Yeah, I was really impressed with your responses in these delicate topics. So I said, "Wow, that's somebody I need to connect with," and I'm so glad that I did. So I'm just going to read through here this extraordinarily long list of accomplishments that Ea has managed to do in her short time, this time on planet Earth. Ea Torrado is a multidimensional healing artist whose medicine blends the use of body, voice, ritual, and storytelling. She is the founder and artistic director of Manila-based dance theater group, Daloy Dance Company. With the company, Ea has presented Walang Hiya Festival, Sayaw Galaw, I'm going to get these wrong, Ugnayan Community Program, and Tanghal of Talakay. All are projects that tap diverse Filipino communities by utilizing dance as a tool for personal and social change. That is something that is also very close to my heart as well. And one of the reasons why I teach is to try to bring about a peaceful and, just a better world. I like to leave the world in a little bit better condition than I found it. I think you have that same drive. So we're coming from the same place in that respect. Ea is also the founder of the Daloy Movement, a guided and durational free-form healing dance practice originated and developed in the Philippines that many people find liberating, transformative, and healing. Can't wait. With 17 years of professional dance and teaching experience, coupled with a lion's heart for social justice, Ea created original contemporary performance rituals that engage both lyrically and viscerally with the politics of identity, society, sexuality, collective rage, grief, spirituality, and healing. Ea practices reiki and other intuitive healing modalities and is deeply engaged in the spiritual legacies and practices of the Filipina shaman-priestess, or known as babay. Okay, so thank you again so much for joining me for this video podcast. Start at the beginning. Tell me how did you get started? It seems like such an interesting career path. So yeah, how did you get started with dance, first of all?
Well, I really loved dancing as a very, very young girl. And then the first time that I saw a ballet class, I was 7 years old, and I saw them, and I literally forced my parents to be like, you have to enroll me to this ballet class wherein the teacher is American, everyone's beautiful, everyone's like so neat, everything looks perfect, there's order. So that sense of, wow, that's so orderly and that's so beautiful. But then also my family was really poor. My family was really poor. My mother was an OFW, an overseas foreign contract worker. And then, we were lower middle class, and we didn't live in a beautiful house or village or anything like that. So as a young kid, seeing a ballet class was like, wow, like I want to be like that. I belong there. And then, so eventually I made them, enroll me. And then year after year, they're trying to make me stop because it's expensive. It's really expensive to do ballet. But then I was so determined. I'm like, I really think that, my life is going to be about dancing. And so around 12, I got a scholarship with like a big dance company here called Ballet Manila. And then that's when it all started, that I had a very fruitful professional dancing career that involved mainly ballet, but also contemporary dance.
Mm.
Yeah, in my and I was, dancing lead roles, Carmen in Carmen, Sugar Plum Fairy, Black Swan. We were touring the world, and
Wow.
like it's a big thing. Yeah, it's a big thing because it's very niche and it's very like it's seen as a form of high art, here in the Philippines.
Right.
And I've danced in the big stages here.
Mm.
But yeah, in my early 20s, so that's like 11 or 12 years ago, I was just deeply dissatisfied. And at the same time, it's so ironic that I feel so disconnected with my body. So it's a huge, and I was also diagnosed with anorexia.
Mm.
And it was a lot of body shame. It was a lot of confusion because, I thought when I was young and I wanted to be the Sugar Plum Fairy or Carmen and Carmen, that I'm going to be extremely happy and that's it. And then I just found myself like, okay, no. So that's weird and that's very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And my road to eventually becoming my own choreographer and then having a healing practice on my own and searching through it from studying yoga, becoming certified in teaching yoga, qigong, tai chi, studying these practices, going into physical theater, going to different teachers and mentors that are both here and also abroad, to be like finding ways in which getting to know my body and having a better relationship with my body,
Mm.
and eventually making dances that are not about me flying and becoming a nymph and aspiring to be someone else.
Mm.
um yeah, and that had a lot to do with me healing myself. So me becoming whoever I am today, through eventually, after leaving the ballet world, becoming my own contemporary choreographer, forming my own dance company, wherein that's where we were able to give movement practices that are psychosomatic and also eventually deals with inner spiritual work.
Mm.
And a lot of this is like with NGOs, with the urban poor here in the Philippines, with women who are abused or who had experienced rape, or
Mm.
yeah. So that had been the thing that kind of got me here. Eventually, initially using dance, using my body to serve an art form and to please an audience, and
Mm-hmm.
then eventually getting to this place wherein a deep realization and hopefully application that actually my life is the art, and every human life is
Mm.
an art in itself.
Mm.
And that it matters how we feel from the inside, and how a big life force energy like emanates from how we live our life.
Mm.
And that, yeah, that's how I dance now, or how I feel like dancing has led me to a philosophy, I guess, that sits better
Mm.
where I am today.
Sounds like you found your calling in your modality. I'd like to back up a bit and talk more about the work that you were doing for the underprivileged. You mentioned some various forms of trauma. Is this work that you're
Mm.
still doing, or is this? Tell me more about that and how that works exactly.
Mm. Well, so we have produced, so part of so within the dance company, and we were doing full length works, and part of the research there is months of giving workshops, psychosomatic workshops, to different groups of women or the underprivileged.
Mm.
So that being part of the research also became a huge part of our practice in making a choreography that is set for stage. So that's one entry point. And then the other one is eventually having contacts with these groups, and us giving more movement practices that are inspired by physical theater, contemporary dance, energy healing, that at the end of the day is um, letting bodies release, letting people gather in circles, talk about their feelings, dance their feelings out,
Mm.
just have space for community care and self-care at the same time.
Mm.
So yeah, so that had kind of been an entry point. So we formed, for example, Walang Hiya Festival. Walang Hiya means unashamed. So that came from the idea that we're largely Catholic. And I also grew up very Catholic, and there's a lot of restrictions in the body and in terms of sexuality. And so we have used these workshops that are mainly movement based to release repressed emotions or unprocessed emotions that have been stuck in the body or giving ailments in the body. So that's an example of a festival that we run. And then we have Sayaw Galaw and Daloy Movement, wherein it's just, gathering with jamming with live musicians, with teachers teaching very different movement practices. And we've been keeping it at, either free, like donation based, or fluid payment scheme, which is sliding scale option. Now, this may seem like, but like normal or natural for other countries, but not for the Philippines. It wasn't like this even 5 years ago. People don't know, like, they're like, that's weird. You guys are just gonna dance intuitively, and even that option of what it's gonna get you to a meditative state. It's gonna get you to, it's a mindfulness practice. That's like a huge concept, and and also even for that being fluid payment scheme was something big before the lockdown, because as someone who also had background in yoga, that's something that I noticed. Like, I love yoga, I believe in the philosophies of ancient yoga, and how it's around now and how it's helping many people. And I respect all my teachers and all studios that I know, and everybody who holds that space. But in my experience, my question was, okay, but how come people still need to buy a block or a mat or enroll in an expensive, yoga class or yoga studio to get this enlightenment or this sense of mindfulness or to be aware of their bodies? So a huge advocacy of mine and of the company is, okay, we knew that through movement we could get people to a more mindful state, a more relaxed state, a state that's more aware of their bodies, themselves. But how can we keep it at the lowest cost possible? How can we show that you just literally need your breath and your focus? And that, you don't need to buy stuff. And that we wanted it to be sliding scale free, because we wanted the whole, everyone in the studio or everyone dancing to be coming from like rich families or low income families. I don't know if you know this, but in my opinion, like here in the Philippines, that's the huge divide. I mean, the rich and the masses, the poor and the rich. We have oligarchies and dynasties, and we have like super poor people. And so, like our advocacy is that no, we gather, no matter what our socioeconomic background is, we dance, we get into that soft, more humane state, I guess, and we hear each other's stories and we talk to each other. And that those who can give more would be given a chance to, like, okay, since I make more, I want to give more because I support this space. And then those who make less, like, how do we make them feel comfortable in this space, feel seen, feel relaxed, feel heard, feel like even though they can't give, like money, that they're still welcome. They still have something to offer, that their stories are important, their dancing is important and must be shared. So yeah, that's kind of, what we've been doing. And then, lockdown happened and we had to transport everything on Zoom. And the truth is, Zoom itself, I mean, there's a lot of interconnection, but then of course we also have like really poor communities who can't even afford a cell phone or who can't even afford a Wi-Fi. But yeah, we are transporting the practice to Zoom, and just we also have still developed a platform for, okay, our dance classes will not just be about dance technique classes. We will provide movement-based classes that are really for self-awareness, self-care, self-sovereignty during this time. And we provide that the Zoom room provides that beautiful community care, for people who are struggling at this point and are locked in their houses and doesn't have that deep social connection.
Yeah. I mean, wow. It sounds to me that you're drawing so much on your own personal experience, and drawing from your own hardships and saying, well, what would I have liked to have been different in my childhood, and the way I see the world? How can I make things better? Drawing from your own struggles. And I think that there's no more of a profound way of teaching and offering these healing modalities than from that space. And that's how I teach and how I draw on teachings as well, is because I know the teachings that I offered saved my life many times over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I work at a recovery center in North Thailand at the New Life Foundation, also helping a lot of people who have had, trauma and recovering from drug addiction and abuse and things like that. And to see the shift in people, that's all that's needed. It's just to witness that is the fuel for the fire that keeps me coming back over and over again. And I think I can tell by the way you're talking, that's something that you draw on as well. So beautiful mission that you're on, and I look forward to the day where we get to co-facilitate at some point together.
Oh my God, I would love that. I super appreciate it. I guess this is 2 weeks ago when I attended your FB Live meditation. I really like that a lot. And that's also another advocacy that we try. Like we try to, like, even for our teachers, to make something accessible has a lot to do with languaging. So another thing that we are interested in is, okay, we provide this space, but it's also like accessible to different denominations of faith or spirituality. And how do we do that? How do we and so there's a lot of care in there. And so I really appreciate your own approach, and also upon seeing your website, how it's open to people from different faiths. And that's key, and that's important.
I mean, that's what's, if we're ever gonna come together as a race, the human race, we have to start to see beyond the definitions or the labels that divide us, and religion is one of those. So being able to see that, it's nice to have a dividing line, like we can see the difference between a tree and a brush, but and we honor and respect that difference. We don't discriminate against the tree over the bush, and I don't see why it's any different with religion. So I want to talk more about your own spiritual practice, because you brought that up a couple of times. And tell me about your own practices. I'm supposing that you meditate, or you do some mindfulness, because you're talking about mindfulness movement. Talk to me about that. Tell me about your practice.
So we formed, me and then the first dancers of Daloy Dance Company 6 years ago, or even 7 years ago. We formed this practice called Daloy Movement. Daloy is a Tagalog word for flow, Tao, presence, present moment. And then we do, and we have this beautiful, there's an, we have baybayin, which is more of an ancient Filipino language, which is per syllable. And then we have this phrase called bahala na, and it has a negative connotation. Bahala na, like when someone says bahala na, it sounds like someone's just carefree. That means like que sera sera, anything goes. And the thing is, it's also associated with laziness, and then you can also associate it with Filipino time. But from my research, like these are concepts that are mainly, we were conquered by Spain, and then by America, and then by, like, we have a long list of colonizers, and we've only been free for a little over 100 years. So we're very young as a free country. But we have been conquered for 300 years by Spain. And they're the ones who say, you're so lazy, you should work. When you think about it, we have to work because we have to build your churches. You have to build your churches and build your farms and, do those things, and or else he'll kill us, right? And so, but that kind of got passed on, that we were associated with laziness and just so carefree and we just live in the moment. And but in ancient language, ba means babae or woman. Ha is breath. La is lalaki or man. So bahala. Then we also have another word called bathala. And bathala is our word for God. And so that's like so interesting for me, because finally it felt like when you say bahala na, it's also like bathala na, wherein I surrender to God. And so and also, like, we were, from our indoctrination that God is just a man. And so it's interesting that from our, ancient practices, there's a belief that it's a combination of the divine masculine and feminine, and they're linked by breath. And so that's how I kind of interpret that language. And then going back to what I said about Daloy, which is a Tagalog for present moment, tao, or flow, it's also that bahala na. Bahala na. So it's interesting because for me, I would say that now my mission is really changing towards, I would like to have more people get into this state of Daloy, of flow, of bathala na or bahala na through the divine feminine consciousness and embodiment of trust and surrender and intuition in the present moment. And that in a way there is a reclamation of a deeply Filipino core value, and at the same time transcending that label that is Filipino or Filipina, but getting to that present, like appreciating the present moment through and through. And if people believe in an all that is, or a presence that is capital P, then I still feel like being in the present moment is a state wherein we could be enchanted and engulfed by this presence. And I just want this as a sort of reclamation, because I feel that, we have been in that mode of like the hamster wheel, like just go and go and go, and think of the future, or be wallowed in the past. But this Daloy is becoming more and more a philosophy that I'm subscribing in and trying to apply, whether I wash the dishes or I walk, or like right now, wherein I'm balancing between, yes, I may have an idea and a plan of what I should say in a video podcast, but like at the core of it, like it's enough to be like, just be fully present so that I could also enjoy myself and enjoy this connection. So Daloy.
Yeah. It is very much like Taoism or Zen Buddhism, as I've really connected to the present moment and allowing the present moment to unfold as it will. If we are completely present and sensitive to the present moment, then we're serving the present moment as best we can. It reminds me of Alan Watts. Are you familiar with Alan Watts?
Yeah. He's so good.
That's great. And how he talks about one should go about their work the way a bird sings a song. There's no reason that the bird sings. The bird just sings a song because that's the nature of the bird. And to be able to go about your work or your day, the events of the day, with that, type of present moment awareness, so that you're just doing what you're doing because that's what you're meant to be doing, and not attached to the outcome of that. That's something to aspire to, for sure.
Yeah, and I love what you said. Like, I also came across this like saying, I forgot where, but it's somewhere along the lines of, like, in a tribe, when someone is like feeling really sick, like the shaman asks, when have you stopped dancing, singing? When have you stopped telling your story? When have you stopped being silent? And it's like, wow, Yeah.
That's
So
something.
thank you for mentioning that singing thing.
Right. Yeah. Right. Wow. I didn't know that about the shaman. That's really telling. Um, yeah. And it is, that's, a healing modality that's been largely lost. Dancing and singing, those endorphins of the body that can be so, so healing for the heart and for the mind and for the body. And it's been, basically drowned out by the Western medicine movement. Not that that can't be effective too, but what a great combination if one can access both of those. Yeah, can be really powerful. Great. So uh, we've talked about your practice and the way you teach with the Daloy movement, and how it's influenced with Taoism and Zen, and this very I guess Aboriginal Filipino culture, which sounds incredible to me. Describe, like, so when you go into a dance, when you go into one of these dances, that, I guess, so is everything that you're doing for yourself when you dance, is that all dances that you've choreographed? No, there's a lot of improvisation and things like
A lot of
that.
improvisation.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, with the company, because we're producing performances or we're commissioned to produce performances, then a lot of the improvisation becomes part of the process to get to have a final product that is for the audience to see. But especially that, I'm really, really going towards even leaving my post as a director of the company, and even going towards deepening into my own spiritual practice, and then holding space for the psychosomatic inner spiritual work through embodiment and dancing and even singing and chanting. um, a lot of what I do is improv. A lot of what I make people do is improv, and letting people tap into their intuition, and letting people tap into what feels good and what feels right. And I mostly say intuition is a superpower. But for many years, we were taught by the patriarchy and its systems to distrust it. And so, like, within that structure of, let's say, an hour of a workshop or 2 hours of a workshop, it's all about guiding them um, to move from that state of intuitive messages, or intuition that is in the body, that is not just of the mind. And I say, what if we all hold memories and wisdom from the whole body, and not just this one part of, not just from the brain, but also from the heart, from the gut, from our right hip, our left hip,
Absolutely.
from the right knee that had been aching, like. And then I would say, if everything is energy, then that right knee kind of, energetically, you could have a communication why it's hurting, and even like lead you to what will eventually make it stop hurting. And in a way, like, I know maybe for some people this sounds very new age and there's no scientific proof, but I just say now, well, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and and like, I would believe what feels good, because I don't know until when I'd be, like, I don't know, taken away by, like, an emergency, an ambulance, either whether you have COVID or anything. And I really believe that, yes, everything to maintain our physical wellness. So for some people, if that's dancing, and if that's like dancing like no one's watching, dancing like you're 4-year-old again, then let's do it.
Yeah. And so really your passion. I love it. I know for me, I just finished facilitating a retreat here, a 7-day retreat. And as a part of the retreat structure, we do a lot of body scanning meditation practice. And memories come up, through this repeated body scan. The muscles relax and soften in a way that actually release memories that one can access visually, and sometimes orally as well through the sound. And so I know firsthand that the body holds all of the memories. And it's quite extraordinary to hear people talk about, oh yeah, I had this memory from when I was 13, or it's 20 years ago. I remember talking, having this conversation. Just these random memories that will just make themselves known, will be revealed when the body relaxes and releases in a particular way. And I know the same is true for movement therapy and things like that. So you're. It sounds like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're right on the cusp of a pretty profound life change. You're talking about leaving the dance company, really becoming a facilitator in spiritual healing.
I've already been doing this work, 6 years already, but because I more of have this public image in the art world or art scene in the Philippines or in the dance world, wherein there's a sort of expectation that the things I come up with are for the stage or for an audience and would have to be under a very critical lens because it's supposed to be art. So I've also been doing that while I've been doing this from behind. And also like dealing with, I gotta do this from behind because my family is so Catholic, or my friends, or even the art community that has a lot of money and could be our patrons, like they would be turned off by me and the company if I don't know, like quote the Bible or love Jesus. And I love Jesus. I mean that. I I believe in Christ consciousness. Like I just want to say that. Yeah. So it really felt like it's a very it's a thin line that you have to like thread, because I have dancers, and they also need money, and we're all in here for money, and this is like a circle, a life that we're part of, and we want to climb the ladder in. But the pandemic actually was a way for me to kind of finally, okay, we knew you wanted to live by the beach. We knew you wanted a reset and a life change, and we knew that this side of you that is already healing people, that is already being with these people in this very vulnerable, intimate, and transformative way, like wants to like get out there because it's what people need right now. And plus for practical reasons too, we can't have shows anymore. I don't think so until the next 3 years. It's it's not happening. Even risking people getting sick by putting up dance classes, having rehearsals, personal rehearsals.
Sure.
And plus we're in the Philippines, we're in the cases are rising even more, much
Sure.
more. So it's really like the universe is like, this is what you've been waiting for.
Yeah. And so it's great that you were leaning in that direction anyway.
Yeah.
For you to go forward and to do that. I know I was a professional musician once upon a time. That's one of the reasons.
Let's collaborate. Maybe you can play music.
I haven't played in some years now. It's one of the reasons why I do these video casts with artists is because I'm so curious how other artists bring their spirituality into their art and combine the two. It's something that I struggled with for many, many years until I finally just stopped playing music altogether and started teaching meditation. That was really, and now I'm really happy. So that was clearly the right move because I've never looked back. But for many years, I like you tried to find that balance of okay, we've got to make money, got to eat, got to pay the rent, got to satisfy the patrons, play for the audience, things like that, and at the same time had this real deep spiritual urge to help people. And so how do you do that? I made a lot of music that was rubbish. That had a spiritual tinge to it, but nobody would ever really buy it or listen to it. It was just really for myself. And so, and here I am. So really, so curious about how other artists do it, like yourself, meditate or find a spiritual calling, uh, practice spiritual techniques like yoga, Reiki, meditation, mindfulness, and then bringing that to life,
Mhm.
art, which is something that you're clearly doing and proficient in the healing modality. When you say you would facilitate, would you work with people like one on one, or is that the kind of, yeah? Tell me more about the settings you see yourself doing this in.
Hmm. Well, I've been doing Zoom for groups, and then I'm also doing Zoom one-on-one.
All right.
So since and then I always say that since I believe in intuition and surrender and trust in the present moment, like if there's anything, I'm just always guiding or leading the person to the healer and teacher within themselves. So it's just all guidance towards them feeling the wisdom of their bodies. Um, and I don't know, I just feel called to say this. I feel like this whole Daloy practice for me is something that also saved my life over and over, even as an artist. You know, when you put work out there and it gets criticized in the newspaper, or you get nominated, you don't win an award, or you apply for a grant for 6 months, you don't get the grant. Like it takes huge tenacity to continue as an artist and be like, my work has value and have worth, even though these supposedly authorities who are there externally to evaluate whether what you're doing is art or not, like are supposed to like it. And so my whole dancing for myself, dancing in communion with my higher self, being present and enjoying it is my way to heal myself over and over and over, even during the pandemic. You know, it's coming back to an inherent enoughness and a very self-defined when it comes to what's beautiful and what's true and what's good. And yeah, the meditation and this kind of spiritual practice is also what's healing me, what has healed me many times, and what has made me go on and made me like realize to go back to why am I doing what I'm doing, like every time, and to check it and to um yeah, it's and then I'm thinking now, you know, I told the dancers, okay, I'm be leaving as a director of the company because I'm really focusing on, you know, deepening on Daloy movement, because right now it is a practice that people enjoy, get deep, you know, in like within a span of 1 hour, 2 hours. But now I'm really realizing how it's not only a practice, it's a philosophy that you can practice, whether you're washing the dishes. And now like I'm deep into this practice of even if I'm just eating an apple, like to be in like that very present moment of collaborating with an apple because it's nourishing you. And it's like, wow, I've never really looked at this as a philosophy that could apply to very mundane things. And it's like enriching me so much that sometimes I have these ideas of, oh, what if you want to become, you know, again, like an artist 10 years from now? What are you going to do? You've already like left that world and you're here. And then finally, there's a softer voice that goes, you know, like, because I'm honing being present, I'll know what to do when I get there. And I'll give myself that chance. I'll make art when it calls me. Like, I'm not going to deny myself of that urge. I'm going to listen to that nudge and that intuition that says, this is the time for you to make art and do this, do this, do this. Then I know that it feels good because this had been the training and the practice to live in the present moment, let it feel good, let it enchant me. And then, yeah, that my art is for me. My art is for me. And I'm going to trust that, you know, like my life is an emanation, you know, and that it will happen. Like,
It sounds
I
like your
haven't.
life is the art.
Oh, I think your life is the art too. All of us,
Well,
really.
we have a
Yes.
mutual admiration society going on, and absolutely worth it. It has been an intriguing and absolutely pleasurable conversation. We do have a little more time, and I do want to get into one more topic, and we've been kind of circling around it. So so let's say I signed up for a one-on-one session with you, and you said an hour or two. So like if I had never met you before and I saw your website and I sent you an email, I'm interested in one-on-one sessions. I have some trauma that I'm working through. What would you recommend? Like how would you, and I really wanted to do some healing through Daloy. How would you frame that? How would you set it up? What would the session look like?
Well, there's always an in-depth interview first to ask, like, what are you what do you want, what are you aiming to heal or release, or what are you, like what is your general state that you want to be in this space, because I take people into vulnerable places. So and I use breath, body, voice. I use a lot of my intuition. I've also been given a gift to be, speaking to like spirit guides and angels. And then I say, of course, if you believe that, we can do that. And if you don't, we don't have to. I could just connect with you on a physical level and give you cues and guides, because emotional and psychological release is available through physical, just purely like physical movements. And we know this from research such as if you go and take like 5 minutes to just go like this, there'll be a change. Like you'll feel a little bit more powerful and confident. So that's how embodiment techniques are powerful.
Yeah.
And then we imbue them with intention. We could imbue them with affirmations. We could imbue them with like deeply being focused in the present moment on what you're doing and what you're not doing. So it depends on what that person needs and want out of the session. And then I could say that, okay, I feel that for your session, we would be needing alignment of the chakras, or we would be needing vocalization in the beginning that leads to intuitive chanting. And this feels like the kind of medicine as to where you are now, which is technically you need to wail because you haven't wailed in like, 10 years, something like that. Or something like, okay, I feel like a prescription, for lack of a better term, like a prescription that would be more fit according to your situation is movement, like wild abandon. Or like on a different scenario, it's like, okay, it's just breath that becomes externalized through very meditative movement that calms you and at the same time makes you feel like you are bigger than your body and you deserve to take up space and own your space and own your time and feel more connected to both your surroundings and internally. So yeah, to get a one-on-one session, it's an in-depth conversation about the person and what that person feels like they need at this point. And yeah, just okay, these are the stuff in the cabinet. I think you need a little bit of this and a little bit of this.
I know, and it seems like our teaching styles are very similar. So I'm relating to that very, very. That's resonating with me very deeply when I see people one-on-one. There's never a pat teaching that I give. There's never a pat meditation. It's always listening to the person's issues, listening to the person's concerns, questions, and then designing a practice based off of what they've told me, what I can pick up intuitively. And it sounds like very similar to you. In a way, I think our improvisation background serves us because I feel, at least for myself, I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like when I'm with somebody one-on-one, that's where I'm improvising, the way I used to improvise music, and I'm improvising a teaching. So I'm not drawing necessarily on Buddhism or Taoism or Christianity or any particular lineage, but just drawing from the wisdom that I know, that I've studied, that I've read, and my intuition, and creating a teaching on the spot. Sounds like you do a very similar, and I've actually used the same analogy of the medicine cabinet. Yeah, and it often feels that way. That okay, you know, what can we draw? How can we listen to this person in the present moment, in their situation, and come up with something that we know will help them. Beautiful.
Oh, and Chris, like if you ever like feel like playing music again and recording it, oh my God, send it over. I would love to, you know, make a dance video or using your music, or I don't know, maybe guided meditation using your music or something like that.
I would definitely be happy if you have some background tracks or something like that. I would be happy to do a guided meditation while you dance. That would be amazing. Sounds like another video cast in the making.
Yeah.
Great. Well, yeah, it's really been a pleasure. Really been truly a pleasure chatting with you. I know you have to run and get ready for your next session. Super busy, and rightfully so. So thank you, and I'll look forward to the next one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. Maraming salamat. I appreciate this. I appreciate what you do. Thank you for your art.
Thank you.
Thank you for your meaningful work. Thank you so much.
Much love, much light. Be well.